I am Dave Smith. My nickname is Crow. I got that nickname from back in the mid-'70s from a late close friend of mine. And I and my wife own a 1969 Chevelle SS that we bought used in 1973 at a little independent car lot for $1,100. And my wife drove it as an everyday car for 2 years until 1975. It was originally a 396, 350 horse, power steering, power brakes, 4-speed car, no air conditioning. It was always black, and the reason we bought it is because it was black with a red interior. One of my best buddies, or my best buddy back in Illinois, really encouraged me to buy it because of that. And the reason I bought a 69 Chevelle is because back in the late 60s, I used to race go-karts competitively, and one of the fellows I raced with in 1970 bought a brand new Plymouth Roadrunner. It was a 383 car with, it was a fairly hot car for the day, and had a grabber hood on it, fresh air intake hood. And one night we were out cruising, and a 69 Chevelle came up next to us with 3 adults in it, and we were still, teenagers, and I wanted to punch off, which of course we had to oblige them and did, but this Chevelle with the 3 people in it just dropped us like a bad habit, just marched right away from us. So in any event, right then and there I decided I wanted to get a Chevelle. I mean, I always liked the body style, but that really sealed the deal there when that happened. In 1975, we were in a position we could put it away and make it strictly a toy, and I had it all repainted, all the rust taken out of it, and actually everything's leaded in it. Back in the day, that was people were still doing that. So anyway, at that point, we put it away, and I started modifying it a little at a time as we could afford it. And used to drag race it some, always been a street car, but it's progressed over the years and then kept evolving, and I put nitrous on it in the late 70s and a roller cam, solid roller cam. Did most of the work myself, just about all of it at that point in time, and again kept building more and more horsepower into it, and eventually put a 427 60 over engine in it and a bigger cam, and did more cylinder head work on it, and got to the point where I needed to do something to the drivetrain to make it more dependable. So I had a Turbo 400 built for it. It's a manual valve body with a trans brake, and I put a spool in the rear end, and I kept lightening the vehicle up as time went on. Glass hood, glass front bumper, took the original bucket seats out of it and put fiberglass bucket seats, and no back seat, took all the sound deadener out of it. Put a fiberglass deck lid on it. Took all the window channels and apparatus out of the back windows and put plexiglass back windows in it. The side both door windows still roll up and down. And then eventually got to the point where got it in the 9-second zone, and consequently I had to put a full roll cage in it, which it still has in it now. But in 1993. Before this, we took it to Super Chevy again, and it had a 100 over 427 in it with much better cylinder head. There were still steel cylinder heads, oval port, but they had big valves in it, and a same camshaft, more nitrous on it, and I got it to run 10 O's down there through the mufflers on 10 white slicks. And then I eventually built a 468 for it and spent a considerable amount of money, had the cylinder heads done down in a place called in Pasadena, Texas. It was Jimmy Bell's, that was the fellow's name that did them. He did a lot of work for competition eliminator cars and pro stock cars at the time. This was in the late 90s, and put a rack and pinion steering on it at that point in time, and also had the car repainted again, which it still has that paint on it from 97. It's got a Hurst quarter stick shifter in it. In 1979, I wanted to put a fresh air system on it without putting any kind of a hood scoop on it. And so I fiddle-farted around and designed a fresh air cleaner for it. And I used to race go-karts with a fellow that owned a sheet metal shop. So I took the design to him, and which is still in the car, the air cleaner, and had him fabricate this fresh air system. It's based on a regular 3-inch open element air cleaner, and then he built the housing for it out of aluminum, and again, that's what's still on the car today, and still very functional. So that's how that all came to be. But like I say, I designed it and hired him to build it. He did a fine job, and it's still on the vehicle today. As it turns out, back in '97, I was down at Byron Dragway late in October. They had an event, which they still have to this day, a wheelie contest, and there was a lot of these 10 wide cars, they called them, mostly from Chicagoland, that ran in a circuit. And I decided to, because mine is a 10 wide car, to join them that day. Drove it to the track and home again. But in any event, it was very cool out, so I didn't want to burn pistons, lean it out and burn pistons, so I put more fuel pressure to the system, and as it turns out, I put too much, and it backfired twice. And in the meantime, there was spraying raw fuel out the exhaust, and that ignited. And a few months before that, I had built a cardboard belly pan around the gas tank to try to help aerodynamics in that area, and that ignited. And this was only probably at 300 feet or something like that out that it did this. And unbeknownst to me, this was on fire the whole way down the track, and my wife and my son, our son, were standing behind the car watching me go down the track, and I had no idea this was all behind me, thankfully. First of all, when the thing backfired so loud, the rearview mirror cocked down, so I couldn't see behind me in any event, and I'm sure that happened for a reason. And I get to the end of the track, and a fellow that was running beside me comes running over the fire extinguisher, and the ambulance comes flying up behind me, and I'm getting out of the car, shaking my, wondering what's going on. And I look underneath the car, and here it's just kind of smoldering and smoke coming out from underneath there. And anyway, the bottom line is one of my buddies was in the stands filming the car, so I have the whole episode on DVD now. And it also, as a result, made a magazine for the wrong reason. But as John Force says, if you can't win, you got to be spectacular. And that day, I guess I was. So our son was 2 years old when we bought it. It'll eventually be his, and we have a grandson now, and actually we have a great grandson now. So they'll be the heirs of it, because we have no intentions whatsoever to sell the car. And as I say, our son grew up with it since he was 2, took him to all kinds of car events with it. And our grandson, they adopted him when he was 16 years old, and I've given him some rides in it, and he's all starry-eyed over it as well, as you can imagine. And thankfully he is. I mean, he's, at the time he was 16, and a lot of kids today, not throwing rocks at anybody, but they're not so much into cars. But Doug is his name. He's all in. So in fact, he's got a late model Camaro now, an SS Camaro. So he's into the cars. Let's put it that way. It'll be theirs, and hopefully not too soon, because I still want to enjoy it for a while yet. My wife and I do. But the memories are certainly a big part of it, a very big part of it. But I still just enjoy the styling of it, and I still enjoy getting compliments on it. I mean, good, bad, or indifferent. Virtually every time we take the car out, whether to buy gas or a car event, we get compliments on it, and that certainly is rewarding in itself. And like a lot of people, I'm sure, that have had vehicles, classic vehicles, for whether they bought them recently or years ago, people will come up to you and say, I used to have one of these, I sure wish I still did. And very, very thankful we still do.
Thanks guys for those wonderful memories with you and the car. This is what our channel is all about. Cool cars with even cooler owners with great stories. Please be sure to let us know in the comments what you think about the Smith's Chevy muscle car. Be sure to like and share the video too. We really enjoy making these videos and are grateful to all of our feature car owners, subscribers, and friends of the channel. We couldn't have gotten this far without you guys.